Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Ryan Darth Bader is the main event of UFC on Fox 18. Takes place January 30th, 2016. It's on regular Fox, Big Fox, so you can get this thing with just some bunny ears and a digital television. First, I'm going to give you some facts and figures. Then I'll give you my pick for this main event fight at the end of the video. First of all, Anthony Johnson is 20-5. Ryan Bader is 21-4. Currently, the odds have Rumble Johnson as a minus 400 favorite with the comeback on Ryan Bader at plus 325. Rumble Johnson is going to have a 4-inch reach advantage as he has a 78-inch reach. He also lands 0.6 more strikes per minute than Ryan Bader. He also has an 18% better takedown accuracy and 1% better takedown defense with 78% of his takedowns defended. Rumble Johnson has won 14 of his fights by KO or TKO, 6 by decision. Ryan Bader has won 6 fights with finishes due to strikes, 4 fights with submissions, and a whole bunch by decision. Right now, Rumble Johnson is number 3 all-time for most knockdowns landed in the UFC, tied in that spot with Junior Dos Santos at 12 knockdowns landed. Ryan Bader has the best significant strike defense in the entire UFC with 73%. First, let's talk about Ryan Bader. Let's rewind 3 years ago to when he fought Lyoto the Dragon Machida. Of course, we know what Lyoto's style is. He's going to bait you in. He is a counterpuncher. He's got that wide karate stance. He wants to bait you in. That's exactly what he did with Ryan Bader. A few times in the first round when they fought, Ryan Bader gave some bull rushes to Lyoto, and Lyoto just gave him a little ole. In the second round, Ryan Bader was getting annoyed at that, getting a little irritated, got over-aggressive with his bull rush, and Lyoto caught him, put his lights completely out. Let's fast forward 1 year to Ryan Bader versus Glover the Rainbow Teixeira. In that fight, Ryan Bader hurt Glover early, knocked him down, went to finish that fight with a guillotine, was unsuccessful. Glover got the better of Bader in a little bit of a grappling exchange, but Bader got back to his feet, and once again later on in the round, rocked Glover the Rainbow Teixeira and put his back against the fence. But again, he was over-aggressive, and Glover ended up knocking him down, finishing that fight on the ground, TKO from punches. But since that time, Ryan Bader has won 5 fights in a row, all of which he has won by decision. He beat Anthony Perosh by decision, then he beat Rafael Cavalcante, Ovin St. Preux, Phil Mr. Wonderful Davis, and most recently, Rashad Evans. And you can see a progression in those fights where he is fighting more intelligently, using game plans more specifically, and also utilizing his wrestling. Once again, let's rewind back to the Lyoto the Dragon Machida fight, and he didn't try a single takedown. Of course, he couldn't get close enough to Lyoto to actually attempt a takedown with those bull rushes. He was just trying to put hands on Lyoto's face. So since that time, he has been kind of known as a boring fighter. Of course, he ground out Ovin St. Preux, and he ground out Rafael Cavalcante. They're dangerous strikers. Who can blame the guy? That's him implementing a solid game plan. He has also improved his footwork by leaps and bounds. You just look at some of those earlier fights, and then you look at Ryan Bader versus Phil Davis. He's using a ton of lateral movement. He's switching stances kind of a little bit. He's moving all over the place, throwing punches. So I think that since those 2 knockouts losses by Ryan Bader, he has improved in a lot of areas of the game. The fight IQ, the footwork, the timing. Let's move over to Anthony Rumble Johnson. What can we say about this guy other than I said some stats? One stat that we cannot put into numbers is the power of this man. I kind of said that he has 12 knockdowns and he's tied for 3rd with Junior Dos Santos in the UFC all time. But man, this guy's power is absolutely insane. He fought Andrei Arlovsky at World Series of Fighting 2 and won by decision. Then he knocked out Mike Kyle, and now he came back to the UFC and he is in the light heavyweight division, and he has not lost in that weight class in his career in non-title fights. Of course, he lost to Daniel D.C. Cormier. We'll be talking about that in a second here. But he came in and he put on a great performance against Phil Davis. He had some great takedown defense, and he showed off some phenomenal striking. Then he obviously brutalized Little Nogueira. Then he also brutalized Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson. And then he got a title shot against John Jones. John Jones got in trouble, of course. We all know what happened there. And then he ended up fighting Daniel DC Cormier for the title. In that fight, what was it, 10 to 20 seconds into the thing, he dropped Daniel Cormier, put him face down on his belly with a right hand. But then he too got over aggressive, looking for the finish against Daniel Cormier early on in that fight. And that is when Daniel Cormier got the better of the grappling. He overextended himself with a right hand. Daniel Cormier ducked under it and kind of got his back and then picked him up, put him down, controlled him for basically the rest of the first round. But while he was controlling them, one time he had Rumble Johnson up by one leg, and Rumble was still hitting him with some impressively hard punches from one leg. It's just insane how much power this guy has. Of course, he faded pretty fast with the grinding style from Daniel Cormier and ended up getting submitted. It kind of seemed like he might have given up in that fight, but you know, Daniel Cormier is another kind of beast. He has rebounded since, and he put out Jimmy Manuwa in impressive fashion. He rocked him too early on and then got the finish in the second round. It was impressive, actually, that Jimmy Manuwa made it to the second round with a murderer like Anthony Johnson. So here's how I think this fight is going to go down. There's a couple of possible outcomes. Either Rumble Johnson puts heavy hands on Ryan Bader and puts him out. Earlier on in this fight, I'm saying rounds 1 or 2. I guess we're adding a third thing. It could go to a decision with, I would put Rumble Johnson winning in this scenario, evading the takedowns and putting heavy leather on Ryan Bader's head. Of course, Ryan Bader has that extremely good, significant strike defense, but I think a few strikes are going to land for Rumble Johnson, and he's either going to get an earlier stoppage, or maybe he could do the same thing with like Phil Davis and take it to a decision and win unanimously. But I wouldn't bet on him at minus 400 unless you're super confident in it. Then I would parlay him with somebody else, but I wouldn't bet him straight up at minus 400. The other outcome that I think could happen, Ryan Bader could get the better of Rumble Johnson in the wrestling department. I know the stats said that Rumble Johnson is better with takedown accuracy and takedown defense, but Ryan Bader has some phenomenal cardio. You see in that fight with Davis, early on he's got a ton of footwork. He does slow down a bit, but his cardio, I would give him the edge over Rumble Johnson. You could see a kind of boring fight here if Ryan Bader is able to control Rumble Johnson on the ground. If you believe in Ryan Bader, I don't fault you at all for putting a small play on the dog here. Plus 325 is some pretty intriguing money right there, you know what I'm saying? But my prediction, I'm not 100% confident in it, maybe 60%, is that Rumble Johnson, heavy leather, knocking out Ryan Bader in either round 1 or 2. For that reason, I'm going to put Rumble Johnson on my counter move and my DraftKings team. No matter what it takes, I'm getting him on there. I think this guy fights for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship again sometime in his career. That's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tell me what you think. Who's going to win in the comment section down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to talk to me about this fight or other fights in the comment section down below, please be respectful. If you're respectful to me, I will be respectful to you. Thanks again, guys. Namaste.